and Zurgadashev fight. So, we're going to get right into the one after that, which is probably one of the more exciting fights on the card across the board, right? We got the Michael Trizano and Ľudovít Klein fight. Now, I've personally seen Mike Trizano in one of the better cards I could have probably ever witnessed in my bachelor party. It was the Friday fight where Israel Adesanya headlined with Brad Tavares before the Miocic-Cormier fight. So that was actually a fun experience, and I got to see Trizano, and that was one of my favorite toughs. And I'm not being biased because I got to see the finale, but a lot of these guys just are now in the UFC and they're able to sustain pretty good longevity. It looks like they have what it takes, win or lose. And everybody talks about that when you lose that mentality of just chasing the titles and things like that, but bring in good fights and try to win more than you lose. And those are the things that make up the rest of the roster, right? And I think that's where we have two guys where, I'm not trying to write them out completely from title contention, but at the same time, it's like, these are the guys we love watching, and I don't think it matters if they win a title or not. Because Mike Trizano, like I said, 8-1. Now, the Grant Dawson fight, Grant Dawson's an absolute monster, right? I think that he's coming out of that James Krause camp as one of the, brighter spots. And, Jeff Molina, that's a guy I was praising earlier, but Dawson's being that longtime guy that we've always heard about. And, I think he proved himself in that fight. The one thing I want to say about Ľudovít Klein is that he's just an absolute beast, right? Go look at the tape. I think Trizano's a good kickboxer, but he might be more technical than he is powerful. And Ľudovít just brings it, man. That 17-2 record is just no joke. I think that one of the things that you see from the Joe Giannetti fight was that it was just close, right? Like that's what I'm seeing about the Trizano style is that he keeps the fights pretty close. He keeps it exciting. But what bothers me in this one is Ľudovít Klein can just absolutely demolish you. He pushes the pressure. Some of his finishes, man, are just absolutely gorgeous. He's riding, this is one of the most beautiful stats that you can see right now, but he's riding a 3-fight win streak via head kick. So he's 3-0 in his last 3, all by head kick knockout wins. And so the last one he actually did was in the UFC. That was the most fun that we've seen. I think that if you think about all of that type of hype, it's hard to go against a guy like Ľudovít, right? Shane Young was the tough one. That's a great kickboxer. City kickboxing, we know how good those guys are when it comes to the stand-up game. And to be honest, Shane Young did well in his last fight too. It's just he's getting a lot of tough opponents where he has to take his game to the next level very quickly. And, when I'm talking about this one, it's like, let me go take a look at the lines right now. And I for some reason, I just wanted to speed up that process because I knew where it was going. And, Ľudovít is 100% coming in at a minus 240 favorite. And to be honest, it hasn't moved much. In fact, if it has, it's gone the other way. So he's actually now sitting closer to a minus 250 favorite. And Trizano opened at a plus 190, but is now seeing that range of the plus 200s. And so when you think about that kind of stuff, I mean, Ľudovít is now obviously looking for 4 head kicks in a row. I mean, that's one thing. But Trizano has to be smart. I think in this case, he's going to have to use distance striking. He cannot get in close. He cannot keep his hands down. And, if he thinks he has an advantage on the ground, then maybe work it in close. Get some good clinch work in. Maybe work it to the ground. But the thing for me is, like, you have to just keep those hands in because I think Ľudovít just has a lot of power. And some of the combos he throws, man, it's just he ends it so beautifully on his head kick that just drops people. And I think that if he were to pull that off again in the UFC, we're looking at a main card type of fighter, moving forward. There's no way they don't get him another, big time opponent because, again, Shane Young and Mike Trizano, again, if it goes down that road, are two guys that are very well contested when it comes to UFC talent. And these are guys that I don't see going away anytime soon if they're able to kind of even get one win under their belt because the talent is there. And so with this fight, I just really want to see what both these guys can bring to the table because they're lining up a huge opportunity. And you know what? If Trizano pulls off this upset, I think there's a lot of people that are going to be happy for him because when you think about just how much people are talking about Ľudovít Klein as the guy that just came out of nowhere onto the UFC scene, then lands that big head kick knockout in the first round, and now goes in on a 3-fight win streak via head kicks. I mean, there's nothing really much more to say about this fight. I think that Trizano does have an opportunity as a great kickboxer to avoid some of these big blows. I think that if he uses his hands and tries to kind of dictate a little bit more of changing levels, things like that, because the thing with Ľudovít is he just seems to really love striking. And I think that when he gets the timing down, he's actually outpacing and outclassing all of his opponents. But, you know, this is the UFC, and Shane Young played very much his kickboxing game. And, you know, another kickboxer going up against another kickboxer. So it's not like the UFC's titling these fights as like kickboxing event and stuff like that, but like, these are two pretty good kickboxers. One's a very technical counter striker, and the other one's a fucking whoop. And one's a very powerful man. And so that's when, for me, I'm really excited about this one. I think I would put it in my top 3 fights on the card, hands down. Next fight is probably my top one. You could probably guess why. But, you know, if you had to pick somebody at this point, it's going to be Ľudovít. Can he land that head kick knockout? That's questionable. You know, like I said, Trizano's lost the rear naked choke to Grant Dawson in the second. For that to be basically his, you know, second fight in the UFC after that tough finale in 2018, I mean, that's a big deal. So I'm excited to see him get back in there. I do think Ľudovít has a huge advantage here, but again, we've seen crazy things in the UFC, and wouldn't be surprised if Mike Trizano pulls this one off.